Alright guys, so at the top of your paper, you want to go ahead, yes. Yeah, quickly. You want to go ahead and be careful with walking around. You want to go ahead and write your what to study. Okay. And with your what to study, you always want to go ahead and make sure that you know what?
SB.
Or your SB, right? Your selection vocabulary.
Where do we all have it, guys? I thought we took it and used it.
Well, your selection vocabulary is also in your book, right? Yeah. So remember that the vocabulary is at the beginning of the chapter, right? So we know the definitions of that. Okay, and if there's a case where you need to go ahead and get your SV packet from last week, if you prefer that, then come see me during afternoon recess and pull it. Okay? So I'll have that available for you. Also, you want to make sure that you are understanding the word, or the root rather, graph. What does it mean to be a root of a word? What does that mean? Someone tell me the roots?
The last bit.
No, that's a suffix.
The basic word in it?
Yeah, good. Understand the roots, graph, okay? So with that, the root, think of like how a plant is rooted into the ground, right? It's kind of like the base, right? It holds on to it. So that's like the centerpiece of the word itself. Well, it can go before it. But we,
So we put like on the side.
I mean, it's going to be included in there. A lot of the times, and Alexander wasn't entirely off base, it's a lot of the time that root, that basic word there, is going to show up at the end. But it doesn't always have to, okay? So in this, guys, I'm going to provide you an example of a seismograph, okay? Seismograph. And then in this case, look, the Greek root, graph, is pointing at the end, right? We have the word seismograph, okay? Has anyone ever heard of a seismograph?
Yeah.
Ray, what is it?
Well, I don't remember what it is because it's not something that size, but I think it's something to do with like to measure like how much damage a hurricane.
Close. It's talking about a natural disaster. Alexander? Earthquakes. A seismograph detects earthquakes, okay?
Wouldn't it just be the Richter scale? Or is that the power? Oh,
The seismograph measures earthquakes.
Yeah.
And like with the seismograph, basically what happens is it'll have like a piece of paper and there's a machine. No, you don't have to. This is just an example. And basically what happens is as the earthquake is increasing, it's gonna boom, 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 boom. And doing that, guys, it's showing me what? What do you think all those da 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 mean? Ethan.
How strong the earthquake is.
Right, and that utilizes the Richter scale, you're right, but that is showing it. So when it's doing this, imagine this is the machine, what is it doing? What is the machine doing?
Tracking earthquake.
Well, if the machine literally has an arm and a pen, and it's getting more and more extreme, what is it doing? How did it get that onto there?
getting bigger.
It's getting bigger, but what is that called? What is a verb called? What is it doing? What am I doing right now? What are you doing right now?
Writing.
Writing is it. Absolutely correct. It's basically writing, right? Seismograph, it is writing, okay, the seismos, right? In this case, seismo referring to earthquakes, right, Mealy? I know you're taking notes, right? Absolutely. All right. So along with this, guys, we need to go ahead and talk about Ellen Ochoa, right? Focusing on what she did, okay? So with this, basically what's going to happen, guys, I'm going to have to erase since it's not going to be following me today. I'm just going to erase this side. I'm just going to erase this side and then just all do it on this board instead of going between both boards, if that's okay with you.
Oh, there's a habit.
Yeah, the swivel isn't because I broke it. But it still holds it and it will still record, so that's
What did you
important.
do?
I dropped the marker, the thing that goes around my neck.
tractor thing?
Yeah, the tractor thing.
Did
So
you get another one?
yeah, I'm working on it. Working on it.
How much did that cost?
Don't worry about all that.
Oh,
Okay. So let's take a look at this, okay? We have Ellen Ochoa. First of all, who is Ellen Ochoa? Who is Ellen Ochoa? Seth.
She was the first American woman in space.
Yeah, very good. First American woman in space, right? It's very, very big deal for that, okay? And with that, she's going up into space, right? And that makes it a very big step for both Ellen Ochoa because she worked really, really hard and the NASA space program by sending her up there, okay? So with this, we need to know what she did on her first mission to space. So what Ellen, I'm just going to call her Ellen, on her first name basis. What Ellen did on her first trip. Okay, there were a few things that she did do, okay? But we need to know what she did, primarily. Does anyone remember the sequence of events that she did? Joseph.
She transported equipment to the International Space Station and unloaded it from the shuttle and hooked some stuff up at the space station.
That was part of it. That's absolutely correct. But I want something else that she did primarily. Abigail? There's something that she studied.
I'm not sure what it's called, but she studied space when she was in college and stuff, and a whole bunch of men were doubting her, and then she said, no, I can do it.
I can do it. This should give it a very big hint. Remember that we talked about? What goes around this? The invisible layer.
Oh,
Gabby!
She studied the equator.
The equator and the
ozone layer.
ozone layer, right? She absolutely focused on that ozone layer.
Well, she had a PhD degree in electrical engineering.
Right. That's why she was sent up. There's a lot of reasons why she went up there. A lot of it had to do with her electrical engineering background. But she was studying the ozone. That was the primary reason she went up there, right? They had to go ahead and study the ozone layer.
I want to
Okay.
have that degree in electrical engineering.
So she made sure to focus on that ozone layer, okay? Well, it's not necessarily the first thing she did, but that was the main reason, or the main idea of her first trip, okay? It focused on going on that ozone layer, right, and studying a little bit about that. Because what better perspective to have about the ozone layer than up in space, right? It's good. Okay, so you also need to understand the sequence of events associated with her getting her PhD from Stanford.
Why do they call it PhD? It's just a doctor's degree.
Well, it's actually like a doctorate. That's what they call it. And it's like a shortened version. It's an acronym. Stands for something. Okay, so with that, we need to understand what happened after she got her PhD from Stanford. What happened?
Wait, in
Which-
what?
After she decided to go ahead and pursue her, or after she got her PhD. So what happened?
PhD in electrical engineering?
Is that what she got her PhD in?
I remember reading it.
But what happened after she got her PhD? At Stanford, okay? Joe.
She studied electrical engineering.
Okay, so that's part of it, but she decided something. She decided something. Belle.
She applied to be an astronaut in math.
Absolutely correct.
And then the first time she tried, they didn't pick it, and the second time they did.
Right.
So she went back.
So when this happened, guys, she decided. Yeah, after PhD at Stanford, she decided to become an astronaut. Absolutely. Okay? They decided along with this And hey, I already became a doctor in this. I have this fancy doctorate from Stanford. I'm gonna try to be an astronaut. And we talked about how, like, the first time around, it didn't go so well, right? She didn't get in. But second time around, did she get in, guys?
Yes.
Yes, she did. Very good.
The first time she was not prepared.
Yeah.
She's alive still.
Yeah. As far as I know. She's older, but she's...
She's like 6 or 7.
I'm not sure. Okay. So, do you think that if she had gone to Stanford, which is a high-end Ivy League school, and she studied electrical engineering, first of all, do you think electrical engineering is a super easy thing to learn about?
No.
No. Is it like learning your colors?
No.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Electrical engineering is a very complicated field, which is why she was, partially that's why she was chosen to become an astronaut, to go up to space, is because electrical engineering is not an easy thing to learn about. And she also completed this coursework at a school that wasn't super easy to do, right? It was a very challenging amount of work. So, based on this, guys, what can you infer about her? What does it mean to infer? Right.
It means to draw conclusions about something that you only have a little bit of information about.
I couldn't put it better myself. Good job, Berlin. That's exactly what we're looking for, guys, to draw conclusions. So what can we infer about her?
She liked the challenge.
She liked the challenge, that's one thing. But with liking that challenge, what do you think you know about her as a student? Gabby?
That she kept going and she never gave up no matter what anybody told her.
You guys are both right. That's absolutely correct, okay? She is dedicated. The word is dedicated. If I am dedicated to teaching, what does that tell you about me? I like teaching, and I'll teach no matter what, right? I will work super hard to make sure that you guys do a good job, right? Like on the research paper, could I have been like super lazy on that and like, all right, you guys go ahead and you write it. Right, if I did that, would you learn a lot about the research paper?
No.
No, absolutely not. So it's important that we are dedicated as teachers, but it's also important that you are dedicated as students so that you are making sure that we are focused and working on what we're supposed to be doing, right? We're making sure that we are dedicated just as Ellen Ochoa was, because she was a very dedicated student, okay? So we know the idea of dedication. Dedication. Okay, good.
I heard you singing the other day.
That was not me.
Yes, it was. You were the only teacher in the classroom.
I don't know what to say. I was testing out my soprano. Okay.
Had no idea what that means. I'm laughing.
Okay, so with this, do you think that Ellen Ochoa was always encouraged to be an engineer?
Yes.
Was she?
No.
No. Wait, no. Her teachers did not in college.
Will.
Because there were a lot of men that were
Right. And that's why this is a huge deal, okay? Because there are times in this country where not everyone was treated equally, okay? There's equal rights associated with both gender, with race, with religious background, okay? And what we're trying to encourage, and we're bringing about more and more and more, is that people are being treated more and more fairly, right? And with this, she was not always encouraged, okay? And this wasn't all that long ago. But she wasn't always encouraged because it was primarily a field that men were involved in. Like, it was said, well, you know, guys do this, you know, you don't want to be an astronaut, you don't want to go to space. And that's why it became such a big deal, and that kind of motivated her. Because, ladies, if someone's going to say, well, you can't do this, is that going to make you want to go, well, yes, I can. Absolutely, I can do this. And that's really what kind of motivated her, because she wasn't always encouraged. Okay? And that's what's important to consider, too, Peter, is because we need to make sure that we are focused on what we're doing, right? And that we are being encouraged. And even if somebody is being kind of negative, you have to use that energy to make positive, right? You want to make sure that you are staying positive about what you can do, right? Joseph.
It says right here that she thought about studying engineering, but a professor noting that most engineers were men discouraged her from pursuing the career.
Can you tell me what page number that's on?
437, the first paragraph.
Great. That's awesome. without even knowing it, Joseph, you just cited information.
I kind of knew it, but
Page 437. Okay? Joseph tells me that 437, that first paragraph.
in the same page, on the same page on the same page on the second paragraph, it tells that she had a PhD, a doctoral degree, at Stanford, and blah blah. Because it said it's the first sentence was still determined
Yep.
to use the math that she loved. Ellen went to Stanford University in California and to study electrical engineering. While at Stanford, she constructed research in optics, the science of gathering information through pictures and lenses. In 1985, she obtained a doctoral degree, PhD in this field.
Exactly. That's awesome. Okay. And so you're going to want to make sure to go ahead and pull that information up. Page 437, paragraph 1, shows that Ellen was not always encouraged. Okay? And he cited textual evidence to show that he understood what that meant. Awesome job. I couldn't be happier.
I like awesome.
The reason why I found it because I knew where it was because I read this for about 3 times.
Well, that's good. It's important to know where to
Two
put the
times.
information.
Well, I didn't make sure you understood.
Yeah, those questions, since they have the questions on the interview questions on their line,
Mm-hmm.
I did that, and actually, when my mom was looking for them, I told her the answer that I thought it was, and when she found it, it was almost like,
Awesome.
not all of them, but we didn't have time to do all of them.
Cool. All right. So we also have to go ahead and consider the connection between Ochoa and NASA. Okay? So we have to understand the connection between both Ellen Ochoa and NASA. Okay, so the connection.
I know it.
I think I know it already. I can infer.
I already know it, and I know where it is in the book.
So do I.
And NASA. Okay, with this, guys, I want us to go ahead and think about the way it worked with Ellen wanting to be successful in the NASA program. So, what do you think? What do you think, really, based on who NASA hired, what do you think, Joseph?
That she tried the first time and they didn't pick her. They picked another group, and then the second time she did, they picked her, and she was a good help for NASA.
That's awesome. Okay,
And
he's
she
right.
was she was a big help with the robotic arm.
Okay. Okay. Ray, can you add on to that?
No, I'm talking about the one we did before on the page 437.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a random person. It was a professor, so that could have encouraged her to
That's
prove
what I said.
him wrong because he was a professor.
That's good stuff, right? That's a great connection because we're looking at who that person is. Like, if there was ever a teacher, that's basically what a professor is, saying, you can't do it, da 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 da. First of all, that professor's not doing a very good job, right? He's not telling that person, he's not making them feel good about themselves, not making sure that they're staying positive about themselves. Because, and I would never ever do this, but if I was just like, well, this is awful, you can never do this ever again, you're doing a very bad job, are you going to feel good about yourself? No, absolutely not. And am I in the business of making you feel bad?
No.
Am I in the business of making you feel bad? Absolutely not, guys. I want to make
When you said that you were.
Yeah, but not in real life, right? I'm all about making sure that my kids are successful, right? And that you guys do well. That's why we do, for instance, these videos, okay? So that we can provide these for you so you can be successful on my tests. All right. So we have to understand, too, that with the whole idea of people not necessarily encouraging Ellen, in NASA, they were often hiring women, too. Right? NASA was actually considering hiring more women. So that really influenced her, okay? You want to think about that, okay? So with Ellen Ochoa and NASA, women were being hired by NASA.
It says in the book that thousands of applications come. Thousands of people try to enter, and only few were selected.
Right, exactly. It's a very competitive type thing. So with this, we have positive encouragement. Absolutely correct. positive encouragement by NASA. Not necessarily that professor, but NASA said, hey, we're hiring women all the time. It doesn't matter. We're not worried about gender. We're worried if you can get the job done.
Actually, there's thousands. So over.
Good stuff. All right. You're also going to have to know, I'm going to put this one up here, okay? Know those demonstrative pronouns, or the demonstrative, depending on how you pronounce it.
Isn't that in our test?
Yeah, I gave you a worksheet on there, remember?
Yeah, my mom found the same worksheet online.
That's good. That's where I
So
got
I
it.
did it twice and I made sure I got it right.
Demonstrative pronouns. Those are what's going to help you. Remember, that with the demonstrative or demonstrative pronouns, if I were to go ahead and write up a sentence like that said, the students went to the store and decided to purchase something that would feed them, or something like that.
Yeah.
In that case, if I were to go ahead and say, what is the demonstrative pronoun of that, what would it be?
That.
Right, we're looking for that, right? But we're looking for food, right? But in that case, you guys are both right. The word that is going to be doing it, right? Because it's indicating what they're eating. So you want to look at that worksheet to make sure that you understand what the demonstrative pronouns are, okay? Practice those, because that's what's going to help you the best, okay? Okay. Also, we had talked a little bit about what happened when Ellen went out to space, right? She went to space, and she used something. She used something, right?
The robot arm.
The robot arm.
RMS.
Yeah.
Okay. Is anyone else writing this part?
I'm writing the last one.
Okay. What word are you on, Joseph?
I'm on the last one. You did race it out.
The demonstrative pronouns the only part of the English enough for the reading test.
Primarily. You're also going to have to, I mean, there's other basic ideas like which sentence is best and things like that. So you have to make sure to slow down and read them entirely, okay? Because some of you got thrown off a little bit about that, okay? So make sure that you're careful with it.
I still don't understand the toy box.
Which one?
The one with the toy box.
Oh, yeah, from last week. That one was challenging, okay? But you have to make sure that you're looking at the subject of it.
There's one question, the opinion question.
Mhm.
That's more of an opinion. I got it wrong. I'm not sure.
We'll talk about it later.
Because it was, I don't remember what it was.
So the robot arm, okay? The robot arm is huge. What did the robot arm do?
It helped her.
It carried a satellite.
Bingo bango,
Wait, I have a
okay?
question. Can you start using the purple marker? I can see that.
I don't have it anymore, that's the thing. It went missing.
Both of them. Mr. Day was using it yesterday.
It's okay. When? I'll go ahead and start using a red one. Guys, if you come up here to use my markers, make sure that you're not smashing them against the board, because that's what happens to them.
There
Okay.
was a pink marker that we put up.
Does the pink one work?
Yes.
No.
Well, it
No.
did.
How are we gonna see it?
Okay, let's see if I can find another one.
Let's try yellow.
It worked perfectly fine.
Oh,
this
yeah.
morning.
Yellow certainly won't work, I can promise you that much. That's also bad.
You need to start throwing them away, because then everybody's using the bag. Ooh, try the black. It probably doesn't work.
Oh, beautiful, wonderful, look at that. It's going to be nice and dark. Okay, good. So with this, yes, Joseph.
I'm not sure if the robot it could lift this, but I'm not sure if it could lift more. But it said that the satellite was 2,800 pounds, and it constantly like compare and contrast them.
Hold on one second, I'll let you go ahead and do that in a second, okay? With the robot arm, we talked about a couple different things. You need to know the several jobs, keyword being jobs, that the robot arm did, that Ellen Ochoa encouraged that robot arm to do, okay? I heard one. Madeline, you gave me one. What did you say?
It carries a satellite.
Right. So it put the satellite into position.
How do you spell satellite?
S-A-T-E-L-I-T.
I don't know.
Satellite, except there's 2 L's in there. Make sure you get that. Okay? It put the satellite into correct position, but what did it also do? It put it in position, and then what did it do?
Made it work.
It pointed toward the sun and studied the solar corona, the glowing envelope of hot gas that surrounds the sun.
Okay, very good. So the satellite actually was put in a position to look at the sun, but what did Ellen do?
She controlled it, and she also used it for grabbing heavy heavy equipment or stuff to the International Space Station.
Okay, used heavy equipment.
Like when they put the cranes on, we got cranes.
Very good. Yeah, and it also retrieved that satellite. Retrieve satellite. Alright guys, we're going to have to put that in the hands because we got to get through this. We only have about 5 minutes to Miss Ladays in here. I want to make sure you get all your information. Alright, so aside from being an astronaut, what else does Ellen Ochoa do? Like, what is a good role that she plays? Gabby?
I'm a scientist.
She's a scientist? Good. Okay. What else is something that we talked about yesterday? Think about religion. Oops. What did we kind of focus on? What was that I word in religion
Helping
yesterday?
people.
That's not an I word.
Inspiration.
Inspiration. Very good, Allison. Okay, so she's a scientist. She's also inspirational. She serves as a good what? If someone is inspirational, what are they? I'm hearing it. What is it? Scientist, role model. Good. Inspirational.
Mr. Pike.
Yes.
I'm done with this book and I take a test.
In a second, okay? Once we're finished with this.
Do it tomorrow.
Joseph.
I need to get that book.
Wait, let me make sure that this right.
Did she encourage?
Oh yeah, during the remainder of the mission, Ellen and her crewmates used the station's R and S to move astronauts from one place to another on the International Space Station.
Okay. If you can't see, make sure you go ahead and pull it from like Remy or something.
That's another thing that we.
Great. So yeah, these are all great ideas, okay? Very good. Also, we talked about what Ellen Ochoa brought to the astronauts. It was like one of the first things when y'all said. What did she bring to that International Space Station?
She. Hold up. She brought.
Joseph, help her out.
She brought a crane that would be used later, and other electronic equipment like computers and stuff like that to make like a little lab.
Perfect. Yeah, she brought clothes and supplies to the individuals over at the ISS, okay? She made sure to go ahead and provide those computers, cables, medicine, equipment, things like that. Because along with it too, guys, believe it or not, and I found this out the other day, there was an interview with one of the astronauts who was up in the ISS. And they're like, okay, so what do you do with your clothes? Obviously, like, you can't wash your clothes in space, because that's a lot of energy, right? That's going to take a lot of energy, and where are they going to get the water? Okay, they're up in space. So, can anyone guess? I mean, this isn't really tied to this, but can anyone guess what maybe they do with it?
They kind of cleaned it up just a little bit and then wore it again.
Maybe. What else? What do you
They
think?
didn't clean that at all.
They don't clean it at all. You know what they do? They go ahead and, since Ellen Ochoa like brings them clothes, anytime someone goes up, brings them additional clothes to go ahead and wear, they actually just throw this stuff out, and then they launch it back at Earth. And what happens, do you think, to that stuff? Do you think it falls into the ground, or what do you think happens?
I think when it goes back to Earth, that they send it to a certain location, Earth, to the next people, so that way they can send it somewhere else so it can get clean.
Okay.
It lands in the water?
Not quite. Gabby, you have another idea?
Maybe they said to land where maybe people don't have those.
Maybe. But do you think if it's going like super, super fast,
It catch on
super fast,
fire.
yeah, it burns up in the atmosphere. So a lot of the time, like the garbage and things like that, like things that they have to go ahead and get rid of up in the space station, they launch back at Earth, and it doesn't even make it down to Earth. It burns up in the atmosphere because it's going so fast, and the atmosphere is used there to protect it. Just burns all up in the atmosphere, so it just goes away.
Can we put that on the tab for bonus?
No way. This is just a fun fact. Okay?
He doesn't give us bonuses.
Okay, with this too, we need to make sure that we understand how we need to compare and contrast the human arm let me set that right there. Versus a robot arm.
That's easy.
Okay? So with this too, guys, a human arm is similar to a robot arm because it has what? Gabby? Joints. And also, what am I bending right now?
Your wrist.
Wrists and joints.
And shoulder joint.
Yep. Wrists and joints. That's really how they're similar. Alright, and the last idea. Just a second, okay. The ISS. What is the ISS? If I go ahead and say the ISS, what is it, Audrey?
International Space Station.
The International Space Station, like the International House of Pancake, right? But it's not. It's not IHOP. It's the ISS, right?
No, it's the IHOP of awesomeness.
It's not the IHOP of awesomeness. It's the ISS. So with this too, guys, what would make the ISS important?
IHOP.
They don't sell waffles and pancakes. What do they do up there?
They like study in outer space and get gases and examples of rocks and stuff like that and study them.
Very good. ISS is important for space exploration. It's super important for that because if we didn't have the International Space Station up there, we wouldn't know all the information we know. Okay. I think that'll do.
Yay!